Welcome in to the Paul Kuharsky podcast. I'm Paul Kuharsky of paulkuharsky.com. I'm at Edleysbbq in Berry Farms, a place that I love. I can't wait to eat here. I didn't even realize it was Friday the 13th until Dwayne just told me. We've got so much to talk about. Legerius Sneed was released as expected. I found out that he passed his physical, so any guarantee, money that was guaranteed for injury is moot. Titans did have insurance on him, so they don't know how exactly that affects the cap implications, but they're off the hook for a lot of money with Legerius Sneed. That's good news. Uniform reveal last night. Great event over at the Pinnacle. Was happy to see a lot of you there. Have a lot of thoughts about the uniforms, which I think are really nice. But Tennessee Titans are the Houston Oilers again. Titans are stacking up defensive linemen. That said, they still got a hole at the rush end position, which screams to me David Bailey, Arvell Reese, maybe even Reuben Bain, as much as people want to talk about Jeremiah Love. Lots going on, lots of questions that I'm sure you guys have, and you will steer the conversation here. I want to know what you think about these logos, what you think about the uniforms, what you think about the direction this team is going. How relieved are you to be shed of Legerius Sneed? What do you think about the Titans' future at cornerback now with Delonte Taylor, Cordell Flatt, Joshua Williams, a three-pack that now with Marcus Harris make up the top four for the Titans at cornerback, a place where they didn't even have flesh and bone on the roster as the league's new year began. They've added so many guys. Hope you're checking out paulkuharsky.com. I've got a free agent tracker that updates every day with who they've added. I've got a projected depth chart that's 3 deep, that doing a lot of research on where these guys fit and kind of showing you the shape of what they have and what they don't have. Still blanks in the starting spot at that rush end, at center, at right guard. Zeitler's still a possibility, but it seems like neither side is in a hurry to get that done, both examining alternatives. So away we go. Retweet here. Let people know we're having this conversation. If you're on YouTube, please give a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you're listening later on Apple, Spotify, and iHeart, please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. Spread the word. Paul Kuharsky Podcast. Great conversations every week. If you're a member of paulkuharsky.com, I send out a text letting you know when I go live. Try to go Fridays at 11 or 1, but also pop up sometimes as news unfolds, and more of those times come up at this time of year as news pops. Curious how many of you were at the event last night, which was well done by the Titans. And I want to give them credit. Listen, it's a hard thing to keep a secret that so many people have to know about as you build up a new logo, new uniforms, and get all the things in place that have to be in place. I think they felt fortunate that it held as long as it did, that when it leaked, it wasn't a uniform coming out of a box in a warehouse somewhere, but actual picture that was a real picture. They created a lot of suspense. That's the strategy that they chose. It was a small event. I know a lot of people wanted to be there, and you could criticize them for that. But one of the big things was that, they felt like it was a social media release. And that video they put on social media, and then all the coverage they got on social media from their own site and from a lot of us that covered it, they felt was like the way they wanted to release it. And I think it was a logical approach, and I think they pulled it off very well. I give them a lot of credit. I thought they managed it well. They created a lot of excitement, a lot of anticipation. And I think the product is good. I think they're really good-looking uniforms. I thought that the logo would grow on me. I don't like the secondary logo at all. That's my one complaint. But and people argue with me about this, and that's fine. We all have our own opinions. I think the uniform is the Houston Oilers uniform. These Tennessee touches, the guitar strings, are so minor. They've got stars under the armpit, and they've got stars in the collar that you can't even see. These are very minor things that make it, they say distinctively Tennessee. People see this team on TV or at the stadium. You cannot help but see the Oilers. And that's fine. If the Titans are embracing the Oilers and the fans are comfortable with that, more power to you. But you don't see that and think Tennessee Titans, and you won't for a while. You see it and you think Houston Oilers. And if the tide has changed for the fans after seeing the throwbacks, that's terrific because it's better looking than either of the Titans uniforms have been. And they're the best professional uniforms that have been on the shelf, period. But it is not a Tennessee identity at this point. It will become one in time. In 1997, when Bud Adams brought this team from Houston to Tennessee, people had pitchforks and torches about changing the name and demanded it. And as the name changed, the uniforms changed. And people wanted that change. So 27 years later, the team has not been able to establish that two-tone blue and the two varieties of uniforms in a deep way where the team expected people to be upset by a departure from that. And the expectation was that a Houston Oilers uniform with these Tennessee hints, the biggest one being the logo, obviously, but these other small things would be enough to satisfy people that they turned the traditional heritage of the team, the Houston heritage and legacy of the team, into a Tennessee thing, and that would be satisfying for everybody. And if that's the case, great. But this is not a Tennessee thing. It's a Houston thing. If you're comfortable with the Houston thing, that's fine. 27 years ago, your dad hated the concept of a Houston thing in Nashville. It was not distinctly Nashville enough. And these are not distinctly Nashville. So that's my stance on the uniforms. I think they're beautiful. Go Forth says, let's hope we get more than 12 games played out of the two new corners over the next 2 years. I think you will. Steffi Knuckles said, should not have gotten that new Sneed jersey last night. Mr. First Down was at the event last night, and boy, was he in all of his glory. I mean, I think little Steven Van Zandt has like different degrees of his long jacket and boa and stuff, and Mr. First Down, maybe has a short, a medium, and a long. Last night he was wearing extra long. What do I think is the next free agent signing? I mean, they're down to guys who are not, particularly important or impressive. And I think the next free agent signings are going to be more of these kind of guys, right? So I don't think that we could pretend to know a great deal about Tylen Granson, who did catch, between 300 and 400 yards of passes in 22 or 23 for the Colts. Jarek Reed, I mean, does that even count? Jarek Reed's a guy that they didn't give a futures contract to at the end of the season. Finished the season with them, and they re-signed him. Jacob Martin from the Commanders, not a bad signing. He is a rush end, outside linebacker who will play end here. Wouldn't put him at the top of the depth chart. I think more guys like that, Granson, Tony Adams from the Jets, a good deep coverage guy who struggles to tackle. But, you're getting – these are like more third-day draft pick free agents right now. Still need a right guard. There's still some guards out there, right, including Zeitler. And that's the biggest position of concern. Biggest position of concern. The CRA says need to go get edge at 4, wide receiver 35, edge 66, running back, and inside linebacker round 4. Re-sign Zeitler and trade for a center. I don't know who you're trading for at center. I mean, who's dealing their center? And this team is not anxious to trade picks. It's not something they're going to do. And here is a happy fan, Wade Dunn. Big fan of the uniforms, big fan of the free agents, big fan of the direction, and glad Sneed is gone. This is the season of hope. The season of hope has Wade done. Interesting choice to go with the white face mask, says Cactuar Jack. Any insight into why they didn't go red or light blue? Listen, I have to say, a small uniform detail like that just does not captivate me. I think the helmets look pretty good. I'm sure they considered red. Here is why, I'll tell you. And I wrote about this today in my second day story about the uniforms. And Aaron Schwartz, the executive vice president of brand marketing or brand management, said they were very intentional about the proportionality of the colors. So they went from 6 colors in the uniform to 3 colors in the uniform. And they were very intentional about the proportional weight of the colors in the uniform. So the Titans blue, which I have a trouble not calling Oilers blue because it's the same. They want the blue to be the most prominent and the white to be the second most prominent and the red to be an accent color. Well, if you make and that balance is very visually important. And that balance is what has worked for teams that have had traditionally very successful and effective proportions. So if you want to know why they don't have red face masks, that would be my conclusion. The Titans very intentionally have a proportionality to the 3 colors in their scheme. Light blue first, white second, red third. And the proportions of those colors is intentional. If you had a red face mask, it would throw off the balance of those colors, and they don't want that. They find that the traditional classic uniforms have a certain proportion, and they wanted to stick to those proportions. And that is why I feel certain that the face masks are white, the second color, not red, the third color. It's good to see so many of you here. I'm happy to be talking Titans on a Friday before a big weekend. My baseball watching is down. My kid coming out of spring break on Monday has a fractured wrist. It's out of commission for a month. Makes for a sad dad. Still go see some ball, but the kid will be in the dugout with his big splint cast on. He's got to be a little less reckless. He's trying to jump over a second baseman to avoid attack. Sometimes you're out stealing, right? Yes. 1992 fan here, CRA, finally got the right uniforms. For the fans complaining that the same complainers about Oilers are the same fans who didn't want Houston to have it back, make up your mind. Well, you can own it and not wear it, which is what they did for a long time. Yeah, here's Clark. He says, not wild about the guitar strings. Less is more, like a classic look. I think it's important. Well, the guitar strings are less. If they don't tell you those are guitar strings, you don't know. They just look like some stripes. So they replaced the blade on the helmet and the blade on the shoulder and the sheath on the pant stripe with guitar strings and guitar strings and guitar strings. They're much more subtle. And that's another simplification of the process, right? And the simplification of the uniform. Now, that's supposed to be something that makes them distinctly Tennessee. I think it's minor, right? So I like the simplification, but they're not very Tennessee. And guitar strings, look, everything to be Music City has to have guitar strings or picks. Predators get guitar strings in 2014. It's not a unique idea. Not a lot of unique. Look, what else is Music City? The soccer team went with amplification signals off of a soundboard. And then to change Titans, I think Burke Nihill went a little overboard. Titans of industry is their thing. They're titans of industry and everything. And the titan of the music industry is the guy who played his guitar on the curb and got a gig in a honky tonk and moved up to the Ryman and plays a concert at Nissan Stadium. It's pushing it. You could say, look, we minimized the Greek mythology to one simple thing, the shield. Emphasize that logo is a shield and still got the Greek mythology. This titans of industry is stretching it. They're just de-emphasizing the Greek mythology element of the titans. And now we're incorporating, Titan in a bigger framework. So it's titans of industry, the titans of Greek mythology, and we don't have to have a monstrous direct tie to the name. The Jets aren't flying planes around and using jet stuff in everything, right? Are the Giants using giant in everything? Packers don't have meat packers at their games. Robert Pruitt says he's hearing and reading that Saleh rotates D-linemen more than the Titans did recently. Do I think that leads to more DL players on the roster and less of another position? Absolutely, he does, and he will. They will have 8 game day defensive linemen, maybe 9 on special occasions. And that means a great deal. They have signed Jacob Martin, Malik Herring, Jordan Elliott, John Franklin Myers, and traded for Jermaine Johnson. That's 5 guys already that they have brought in to go with Jeffrey Simmons and Femi Oladejo, who are certain to be around. You're already pushing the numbers, and they're definitely drafting one. So that's heavy. This is going to be like the Jim Washburn era. Jim Washburn was one of the 2 best position coaches the Titans have ever had, along with Mike Munchak. And they are going to bring waves of defensive line. You are going to play 3, 4, 5 snaps, come out, catch your breath. Somebody else is going to come in who hopefully is not going to be that big a drop-off from you, and he is going to play 3 snaps going all out while you recover and come back in. And that is the basis of this. And they are going to try like hell to rush with 4, influence the quarterback, stop the run game, and create. And these cornerbacks who look to be good, not great. Alontae Taylor gave up 8 touchdowns last year, 13 in the last 2 years. The other 2 guys are long but light. They're not going to have to cover as long if this works up front. And these guys up front look pretty good. And they're big. They're big, mostly big. So, yes, that's going to be a different thing. Titans went big on the defensive line last year with guys like Draymond Jones and Jihad Ward out of necessity, I think. They wanted to stop the run better. That was part of it. But also, they weren't moving to a 4-3. The smaller, quicker, bendier edges that the 3-4 bendier outside linebackers weren't available to them, So it was partly, we want to go bigger, and it's partly, we have to go bigger. Now it's very intentional. Very intentional. Abdullah says Saleh had good defense with the Jets and failed to reach 500 in all 3 years. Could he be pushing for offensive line weapon at number 4? I doubt it. Look, Dan Moore is in place as the left tackle this year. They're playing him. I've been told that. I've reported that. J.C. Latham is definitely in place at right tackle. You're not spending the number 4 pick. I don't think you're spending the number 4. Plus, there's no clear number 4 like blue chip offensive lineman in this draft. It'd be a big luxury to draft a high offensive lineman and wait on him for a year or sit more, $22 million on the bench, given all these other needs. A little more equipped to do it now than you were before this free agent binge. You can't take a center or a guard that high. 2nd round, 3rd round, maybe you could just the interior offensive line. They're going to have 1 veteran at guard or center. Then you're going to have a guard. And I wrote this week, and I hope you'll go read it at paulkuharsky.com. Jackson Slater is a big test case. Look, they're adding all these free agents. They're fleshing out the offensive, the roster. But Jackson Slater was a 6th-round pick last year. Now, look, he could bust. You know, you're not going to hit on all your 6th-round picks. But this is the kind of guy they want to be judged by. In the draft and develop world of Mike Borgonzi, and in the world of Robert Saleh, who talked about Carmen Brasillo, the new offensive line coach, and said he's representative of all the coaches. Anybody can coach first-rounder. He's looking for coaches that could coach third-day picks and undrafted free agents and maximize their talents and get effective starting play out of them. Jackson Slater is that kind of guy. Now, I talked to 3 different people about Slater. You know, one told me can start next year. One told me had trouble keeping on weight last year and, you know, makes him more of a center than a guard. And you can't pencil him in to start now. You know, you have to have a really great offseason to win a spot. And another said doesn't think he's ready. So mixed reviews from in the building, not a unified perspective on Jackson Slater, which is fine for a guy from a small school, Sacramento State, going into his 2nd season. But you are allowed to have a 2nd year. It's a 4-year contract. And if you're projecting this guy to be a starter for you, which they said they were, he should be in the mix of a fight in his 2nd year if they don't sign a clear-cut veteran center, which was their objective at the beginning. Just the market really screwed them. Biotish disappeared fast. Connor McGovern re-signed. And another one disappeared in a hurry. Well, Linderbaum got massive money. The market changed quickly. And so you have to be fluid and able to adapt. Luke never knew there was an event last night until videos after the fact. Luke, I think that's more on you than anybody. I mean, if you follow the team, there was lots of talk about the event last night. But I don't know that it matters that you didn't know there was an event. If you didn't get a ticket, which was only available to season ticket holders, and only a small percentage of them, 2,500, then you couldn't go. And the release was really intended to be a social media thing with some people at a party. Robert Draper, good friend of mine, and an important guy to me. I have zero problem with the homage to the Oilers. Well, that's good. You've been a fan from Oiler days, though, right, Robert? And you're not a Nashvilleian. So I just wonder how many people share that. And it's a drastic change, you understand, from the tone in 1997. And if this market has changed that way, that's fine. I just find it really interesting that the change has been so dramatic. And again, I think they're beautiful. And I think they're a significant upgrade from what they've been wearing. But prepare yourself. I mean, even if Nashville loves them, Titans fans are going to hear a lot of Houston Oilers talk when these things are on the field. When these things are on the field. I put up a poll, by the way, if you want to check it on Twitter, about the feeling for these uniforms. And right now, I'm not finding the poll. I also put up the comparison colors of the Oilers Columbia blue and the Titans blue, which are different. And I think that difference happened maybe even in the throwbacks. 61.7% say terrific, 28.8% say good, 7.5% meh, only 2% bad. That's nearly 2,500 votes. Recapping, Legerius Sneed's been released. Financial implications may be even better than we thought because the Titans had insurance on him. He did pass a physical. So things are fine there. At paulkuharsky.com, you can find multiple stories about the uniforms and a file that has all of the new logos and brands. One thing I really don't like is that very simple football outline with TN in it, overlapping TN. They want you to read that as TN for Tennessee or NT for Nashville, Tennessee. I mean, it's a different kind of secondary logo, and they're going for a classic look there. I don't think it works very well. The word marks look good to me, and I think those things are pretty good. So at PaulKuharsky.com. You can also find Tennessee Titans free agent tracker, draft pick tracker, and a free agent tracker is consistently updated. The projected depth chart is consistently updated. So I encourage you to check out those things, if you will. And we'll get back to some of your questions right here. Took some awesome pictures last night that I am incorporating on the site, and have freshened up the look there. So that's pretty cool, and I'm excited about that. For less than a cup of coffee, a beer, or a cocktail, you get full Titans coverage, news, analysis, film study, analytics, and draft insight, and it directly supports independent Titans journalism. Join PaulKuharsky.com. Secondary logo stuck, Steffi Knuckles says. CRA said, people are dumb. People are dumb. Over time, even the Raiders or Rams moved. Do the fans not appreciate their history and make them change? Well, the Titans are very unique. The Titans moved and changed name. Who's moved and changed name? Outside of the Ravens, which were a very distinct case, because there was so much protest, the league made them leave the Browns' name and history behind. Every other team has moved and kept its name and kept its history. Rams, Raiders, Colts. Who am I forgetting? They all stayed the same. And so this wasn't an issue the way it was for the Titans. Titans are their own animal, right? Ryan says, thanks for posting the different shades of blue earlier. It helped see the difference. Maybe I could post that tweet here for people to see, because I found that interesting as well. And I am a Columbia blue guy. A lot of people talk to me about what I put on my site, etc. Obviously, I'm covering the Titans, and their blue is significant to me. But also, Columbia blue pre-existed a lot of this stuff. Columbia founded before the nation itself. I did put the tweet to that difference in the blues is now in the rail here with the comments. Michael says the only argument Houston fans have if the Oilers colors are Houston police car colors in the 60s. That would irritate me, as it kind of felt like those are my area colors. Well, they are Houston area colors. I mean, the Oilers started wearing them in 1960. Probably, because they echoed Houston police cars. I mean, the Predators have those colors that, navy blue and gold, because those are Nashville flag colors. Adam says, if the Titans return the same OL except Slater in for Kush, and they have good results, is there a story to be written there that Callahan has lost his touch? Well, if they have good results, I think you're saying Callahan hasn't lost his touch. It just took a long time. We'll see. I mean, I think it's a very interesting question as to what does Bill Callahan do in Atlanta? And quite frankly, I think every Titans fan will have the right to be exceptionally fucking ticked off if Bill Callahan goes to Atlanta and does in Atlanta what he had done in all the places prior to Nashville and has success relatively quickly. And then you say, how did he come to Nashville and for the better part of 2 years not get it done? Or was Tennessee the beginning of the end of Bill Callahan and he just petered out? Had a big career, a lot of offensive line development, and then he just lost his touch at the end, which doesn't generally happen to great position coaches. 2-year blip doesn't generally happen either. So we will see. I think it's a fascinating story. It's a very interesting question. Do I think Zeitler is pulling the veteran trick of not signing until after training camp since he's played for so long? I mean, I think if he's doing that, at some point the Titans would let it out that they've got assurances that he's coming back. I will say this. I got confirmation elsewhere that Zeitler wants to play a 15th season and is weighing some options, and that the Titans are also weighing options. I wrote that story earlier this week. I did find 4 numbers for Kevin Zeitler's, 3 of them based in Wisconsin, which is where Kevin Zeitler is from. And one of them wrote me back and said, yeah, I plan to play several more years or a few more years. But then based on my experience, which you may remember, where I got a text back from DeAndre Hopkins that turned out not to be DeAndre Hopkins, and embarrassed myself by conveying that he called Tim Kelly Pretty Boy Kelly. I did not use that quote because Zeitler went quiet after I said, how can we establish for certain that this is you? So if Mendoza, Reese, and Bailey go top 3 and you can't trade back, who would you take at 4 as of today? I would take Bain. But I would not object to Love. And I think it would be one of those 2. I think it will be one of those 2. Focus says he recently got blocked by a podcaster with a squeaky, shrill voice for telling him we heard about the sweat news from me first. Not sure why he got upset. Did I slap him or kick his dog? I pretty much ignore him. I like people that report. Or report and then comment, but not just that comment. And even if you just comment, like, be around. Out-of-state commenters who scream a lot are not my thing. I mean, this thing, again, I'm sipping on a Diet Coke with lime. Do I think the Titans offered any of the huge free agent names any deals and they just didn't pick us or didn't try? Well, I think they talked to Pierce. I think they talked to Linderbaum, and those guys wound up pricing themselves out of the Titans market. But I think, you guys don't like hearing this. John Franklin Myers is a big free agent name. That's the best interior defensive lineman that was available. I don't think this is a right. Awaken said the Titans are only taking one of 2 players, Bain or Love. I think that comes with a presumption that Reese and Bailey are gone. If Reese or Bailey are there, they are absolutely in the mix. Ed Henry, how you doing? Are we as fans too quick to write off Femi? I would think Borgonzi's second pick would be heavily in the rotation next year. He'll be heavily in the rotation next year. I don't know that people are writing him off. I think maybe you forget about him a little bit. But I expect him to be given every chance to play. Now, I don't know how confident I am that he will be there. Do I think Pollard is on this team after the draft? I do, yeah. I don't know. Somebody want to look up quickly if he's got money that guarantees on Monday? He might not. Or if his base isn't guaranteed. I know they could save $7 million by cutting him. I think their intention is to go forward with Pollard. And I think that they are relatively pleased with Pollard and Spears. And I've been on the record before that I am not a Spears guy. I like him personally, and I like him in space. I like him as a pass catcher on the occasion where you can get him to run inside. But I think between the tackles, he's not good. And I need a running back to be able to run between the tackles. I think it's too predictable that he can't run between the tackles, and that is a problem. I'm at Edleysbbq out in Franklin on Paytonsville Road. This is my home base, Edley. As you know, I also go to 12 South. I also go to East Nashville. I also go to Sylvan Park. This place is the best place to eat. Can you smell it? I feel some burnt ends coming on, or maybe an avocado salad. Maybe I get something different. Maybe some wings. I could eat some wings. I'm starving. I love this place. I love to eat here. You love this place. You love to eat here. If you don't, I don't know what you're waiting for. You don't know what you're missing. It's fast. It's efficient. Even when it's crowded, the line barely a line because they move so quickly. The service is terrific. The food is delicious. The drinks are big and cold. It's just great barbecue. It's the best in and around Nashville. Got 8 locations around. Should bring somebody for a business lunch. You should bring your family for dinner. This weekend's coming up. You got some big TVs. Catch a game. A lot of basketball going on. And listen, if for some reason you can't make it here, they've invested a lot in having their own delivery service. So you don't have to do Grubhub. You don't have to do Uber Eats. You don't have to do DoorDash. And we know how big the ripoff is with fees there. So you get on, you get the Edley's app, and you order through them. They charge you a really minimal delivery fee. They deliver quickly. The food is hot, and they make it like you're eating at the restaurant in your house. Can't recommend Edley's enough. As soon as I comment about them in this podcast, people start commenting about how much they enjoy the restaurant. I get messages all the time about people visiting Nashville and going to Edley's because of this podcast and how much they like it. You see their logo up here in the corner. Do yourself a favor. Come eat at Edley's. Make it a regular stop. You will not regret it. Let me know what you eat and how much you enjoy it. Edleysbbq. I think it's the best restaurant in Nashville when you consider the price and the quality of food. Check it out. What will the Titans do at center? William Young says, we do not know. We do not know. Let's scroll down here to see? Any news on moving Levis? Does Tyson Jordan drop? Tyson Jordan's hurt all the time. I mean, this team wants healthy people. I don't think he's in the mix. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not on their board. There's no news on moving Levis. I think everybody overvalues what Levis is worth. I think probably around draft time when somebody concludes they don't have enough quarterbacks on their roster, somebody will move for him. And it's probably a pick swap, 6th to a 5th, a jump in the 6th, something like that. Femi hit the lottery with this coaching staff. Hiring Saleh and White Cotton is the best possible scenario for him. It's a great scenario for a lot of people. But I think Femi Oladejo, I've said this repeatedly, he goes from off-the-ball linebacker with a lot of responsibilities to an outside linebacker in a 3-4 with fewer responsibilities to an end in a 4-3 with fewer responsibilities. Go get the quarterback. That is minimized to minimized to minimized. Now he's got a very narrow job. Can he do it? Can he go do it? Chambers said, so if they're gung-ho on Pollard, you don't see Love pick coming at 4. They're not gung-ho on Pollard. They're satisfied with Pollard. I could see somebody like Brian Robinson coming and being code number 1A, 1B. I think that's what they're looking for. That could be a later draft pick. I think that's their scenario at running back. I don't see Jeremiah Love. If Jeremiah Love is judged by the Tennessee Titans as being a blue chip player, they will draft him. If Jeremiah Love is judged by the Tennessee Titans as being a blue chip player in a draft that does not have a lot of blue chip players, they will draft him. That's the only question. Do they judge him that way? If they do, they're taking it. If they don't, I don't think they will. They won't. They'll go a different direction to a more valued position. And then they'll find somebody to pair with Tony Pollard as a 1 and 1B running back at the top of the depth chart. And I think that's the correct way to operate with this thing. And I have no problem with that. So what we need to know is, does Mike Borgonzi and do the people that Mike Borgonzi trusts who surround him in the Titans front office think that Jeremiah Love is a blue chip player? And also, are we sure they don't see any other blue chip guys at the top of this draft? The thing about Pollard, awake and says Daboll may have liked what he saw out of Pollard towards the end of the year. Plus, Pollard tends to stay healthy. Those are all good points. But Pollard, when there's an opportunity to turn a 20-yard run into a 40-yard run, doesn't do it anymore. And that's a problem. You can't leave 20 yards on the field to burn. Last time a team had an elite running back and a promising young quarterback was the Cowboys with Dak and Zeke. And Cam is far more talented than Dak. Well, Cam has to prove he's far more talented than Dak. And that's the last time? I don't know. I mean, I'd have to go look, but I think there's got to be a more recent example of that. If we take Styles at 4, Adam says, I may throw my phone through the TV, get back to 9 and take him then or wherever. Well, if you go back to 9, somebody may well take him between 4 and 9. I think. That wouldn't surprise me. How do the Ravens keep getting away with murder? Look, it could be unseemly to you what the Ravens did, but it's completely within the framework of the thing. And the NFL keeps getting away with the fact that they have this 2-day negotiating window before things become official, which is dumb. But the rules are set up that nothing you do on Monday and Tuesday is binding until 3 o'clock Central on Wednesday. And so, by the letter of the law, the Ravens did nothing wrong. And also, by the letter of the law, they did nothing wrong on any circumstances. You could fail a guy in a physical. Whether you find something wrong with him or you get cold feet and you want out. Will Saleh be satisfied with the Titans linebackers? Or do I see him wanting to upgrade from Barton? I mean, listen, if he plays Cody Barton at middle linebacker, I think it'll be his least favorite player on defense. If Robert Saleh plays Cody Barton at middle linebacker, he's going to be his least favorite player on defense, don't you think? I mean, he wants 2 athletic coverage off-the-ball linebackers, not a thumper. And Cody Barton doesn't fit the bill. Cedric Gray absolutely fits the bill. Now, I don't know if that guy's got to be Sonny Styles. You know, he had the luxury of Fred Warner. He's probably not going to have a guy of that caliber with the Titans. Probably not in year 1 anyway. And the Titans historically have not invested big dollars in that position. I don't know what Mike Borgonzi thinks about investing big resources or big dollars in that position. But I think everybody could be in agreement there after a year of Cody Barton and the scheme shift that Cody Barton is not an answer at that position. He's certainly not a long-term answer at that position. And if he's a short-term answer at that position, he should be the weakest spot on defense. Now, if you're the weakest spot at defense at that spot, that used to be more okay than it will be now, I think. It's probably going to be a problem. I think that'll be hard for some of us to watch. I really do. Don't you guys? I'm really having trouble writing stuff down. Maybe I should bring this over here. Yeah. Daniel says Love turns 20 into 65, whereas Pollard turns 20 into 20, or maybe 19, right? That's a good question, Michael Wagner. Thank you. Barkley and Hurts. And this guy was saying young. So Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott were young together. Barkley doesn't qualify as young. Second contract running back is never going to qualify as young. So I agree with Gringe's response there. Hurts was already paid and Saquon was on contract too. Not the same. Absolutely agree. Bijan and Pinnock don't qualify because Penix isn't good. Why don't the Titans wear the blue jerseys with the blue pants? Look, the most common combinations here are going to be the blue jersey with the white pants and the white jersey with the blue pants, but the mixing and matching is certainly available. And Amy Adams-Strunk is super involved in this, all indications are, into the combinations. She liked that Stormtrooper white on white. And we heard Mike Vrabel when he was talking about the Patriots' choice of uniforms for the Super Bowl, say something about not having to deal with the uniform police anymore. I took that, many people did, as a direct reference to Amy being very particular, very involved in uniform selections in Tennessee. Do I think James Williams gets a look at weak side? I mean, I think Cedric Gray is the weak side linebacker. James Williams would have to overtake Cedric Gray. I don't see it happening. And I think we should note strong side is, a position in the base defense that's going to be off the field very quickly in nickel and dime. So I don't even have it in my depth chart. My depth chart is a nickel defense. But they'll need somebody for that. And that could be like your least sturdy, if you will, smallest defensive end can slide to that position. Adam is semi-surprised Barton's still on the team. I mean, can only take so many people away. Barton can be a backup and a special teamer. He's not that expensive. They don't generally go after people like Joey Bosa. Old. Retro with a very good comment here. Weird. Titans are notoriously bad at edge, wide receiver, and cornerback, our biggest needs every year. They have had stretches of good cornerback play. And strategically, they plot. If you have a good enough defensive front, you can get away with certain things at cornerback. But, Samari Roll, Cortland Finnegan, Logan Ryan, Malcolm Butler. There's some good cornerbacks in this team's history. Certainly more than wide receivers. And there's certainly some edge history, in Curse, in Morgan and Arakpo, not high quality, but solid NFL starters. Vandenbosch, we're going back away. There's some history there. Wide receiver history, very poor. A.J. Brown, Nate Washington put in a good 6 years. Derek Mason's a long, long time ago. What's the third name I'm listing there? Debatable. And then you got a lot of guys like Kendall Wright who just didn't give you what you were looking for. And it's regime after regime failing to assess these guys properly, where somebody like Tajay Sharp becomes like a semi-successful story for you. Rashad Matthews. They're not looking for James Williams to be a safety. He's not an NFL safety, and they have safeties to play safety. I'm not going to ask them to wear red face masks. They just redesigned their uniforms. They're not going to change the face mask. Way more explosive players on defense this cycle compared to offense. Why wouldn't the Titans go all in with JFM and pair that with Hendrickson and draft an offensive game changer like Love? Well, they decided that Hendrickson was too expensive for what he is, and he's 31. And they're not interested, I don't think, in the old guys, generally speaking. Amy was not at the uniform release, as far as I know. There was no sight of her, and there's no private box at Pinnacle, as far as I could see. Have to imagine she's pleased with the turnout. It was a 2,500 thing venue. If you can't fill a 2,500 standing room venue, you got some big problems. I'm sure she's pleased with the reaction. Barton is not as much of a leader as it might appear. And I'm a believer that you have to be a productive, somewhat successful player to be a leader. I think he's a less effective leader the more he played. Nicholas said, who was happier about the Super Bowl outcome than Amy? Look, he was in the Super Bowl. That he lost the Super Bowl, I'm sure, made her happy. He's there. Trey, why are people acting like Chig was Frank Wycheck or Delaney? Adios. Titans fans fall in love with Titans players, which is understandable. You like your guys, but you have to put your guys in context. And fans don't tend to see the blocking characteristics of players who catch the ball and run well with it. I have no problem with Bellinger for Chig. Now, they need another receiver or two who can catch the ball and run with it in a way that Chig did to offset that. What's the details on the old logo? Well, it's in their files. They'll still sell merchandise for people who like that. And they can use it again. I mean, you have to be approved to wear throwbacks. They won't wear throwbacks for a long time now. Yeah, it exists. That's the status. Sergeant Bubbles corrected me. Says, yes, Amy was there last night sitting up in the balcony. I missed it. I did mention Samari Roll, Nicholas. Samari Roll, one of my favorite all-time Titans. Maybe my favorite. Austin Cole. If I had to guess, and only guess, do we pick it for or trade down if we have a partner to trade with? They trade down unless, as I talked about earlier, they see Jeremiah Love as an absolute blue chip prospect. And if they think him as a blue chip prospect, then I think they would take him. Did I get Simon any new gear? I asked him if he wanted a T-shirt. He was moderately excited about it, but I wasn't waiting in those lines, so no. I brought him a flag. He wasn't excited about it at all. His friend Charlie might have taken it today. I did get a poster. I'm a big hat show guy, as you know, from my background, from my podcasts at home. But it's not officially Hatch Show, which it's a nice poster, but I'm a Hat Show snob. So if it's not actually Hat Show, I have some Titans posters from over the years, right? Should I frame those up and make those the background of my videos as opposed to my concert posters? Does that dress me up in a different way, or does that make me look like a guy who's got Titans posters in his office and appear fanish? I would like feedback on that. Titans MG. I mean, everybody's been saying that the franchise doesn't value wide receiver. I don't think it's that they don't value it. I think it's that they can't calculate it. I mean, they know they're important. They just don't know how to get them. And they don't spend enough premium on them. I'll agree with you on that. To add offensive line to weakness for the last, 6 or 8 years, yeah. Now people are just throwing out names. Nicholas says Jarrell Casey. What about him? Yeah, now we're just listing people. Let's not list people. I'm not going to read lists. Here's somebody else that saw, pretty sure I saw Amy in the top area with Saleh and Dayball in some videos. I didn't see Dayball either, so I could have missed him. Retrodocs. So many new players that can immediately help in meetings and practices. Should hit the ground running this offense. That's great that they help in meetings and practices. Can they play on Sunday? I don't care about the meetings and the practices if it does not translate to production in games on the field on Sunday afternoon. Presumably they're playing on Sunday afternoons at noon most of the time. What are they doing for 3 hours from noon to 3 o'clock on Sunday? I don't want guys that help in meetings unless they play well on Sunday. So the Sneed was released. Who, if anyone, out of Barton, Pollard, and Ridley do I expect to release? I don't expect any of them to be released. If one of them was released, I would think it'd be Ridley. Somebody could show me Barton's money. I don't think it's so much so that they need to release him. I think he can be a depth guy and start in an emergency, be your weakest guy on defense. Somebody's going to be the weakest guy on defense. Does Barton play better with a better coordinator? Gibbons and Spillane played well last year for the Pats. All those guys share in common that they're just not good enough coverage guys. Does Saleh even want a bending D end in his defense? Well, they want to play that one defensive end, a wide 9. And if you're playing that wide, the thing you're doing is really putting an angle on that offensive lineman. And, you know, the quintessential wide 9 guy was Javon Curse before he broke his foot. So, yes. Nick Suss published, according to Michael, that Amy was in the Raptors. So I stand corrected. Amy Adams-Strunk was present. I think Jawan Jennings is more interested in the Titans than the Titans are interested in Jawan Jennings. Least favorite all-time Titan. Darren Bates jumps to mind. Titans don't get a comp pick for anyone. The Titans, Elite Chronicle Clips is asking, Titans don't get a comp pick for Sneed. Comp picks are based on measuring your free agent gains and your free agent losses. First off, Sneed was cut, so he's not a free agent loss. He's a cut. Titans have signed like 13, 14 free agents. They've lost 2, right? They lost Key and they lost Chig. They are like plus 12 in free agents. They are so far away from getting comp picks, you couldn't be further away. And those comp picks don't come until next year. Someday the Titans could hopefully be in position where they've got so many good players and they're doing such a good job drafting that they get into a place where they're re-signing their own guys, they're drafting well, they lose some free agents, and they get comp picks in exchange for that because they're not spending in free agents. It's kind of the system the Ravens try to do. Titans are nowhere near getting comp picks. Those numbers, Trey said, can't get over the nameplate font and the big bold numbers on these jerseys. I said it. When we met with the Titans and had a conversation about this stuff earlier yesterday, there were 3 jerseys of the current style that was retired yesterday on the wall, and those numbers are so thin, and they're showing us these jerseys with the numbers that go like beyond the stitching on the front plate. It's going to be a joy to be able to see these numbers. Austin Cole, thank you so much. That's very nice for you to be so complimentary. I really appreciate it. Yeah, look, they're not going to tell us the details about the insurance policy. I think insurance policies are kept quiet. I think the league probably discourages them. But this is something that should be given credit, and I think it's probably a Brinker thing. Big free agency is over, Dalen. Big free agency is over. I'm not a fan of any NFL team. I enjoy watching the league. I enjoy close games and tension. I cover the league. I'm not a fan. I'm a fan of the New York Yankees, Chelsea Football Club, United States Soccer. I'd like to see Vanderbilt do well. But I haven't watched a basketball game, men or women, all year. I don't have a Titans beer bottle. I have a Titans wine bottle. And no, I didn't update it. And quite frankly, the amount of art that I have in my system files, like that I would throw in a mailbag post. I haven't done a lot of mailbag posts lately, but, just theme art. I'm going to need a lot of new theme art. I have a step and repeat banner that I used from the combine, but a step and repeat banner in my house makes it feel like I'm on site, and I'm not. Like I could use it right here, and it would be fine. But in my house, what I have around my house is going to do. I'm not going to have a step and repeat banner up during podcasts at home, I don't think. By the way, bringing up Gunnar Helm. Shaker asks, Gunnar Helm seems to be very promising. Seems like his contested catches have been underappreciated. I think he was appropriately appreciated. I will say this. Titans, in putting guys in these uniforms, Jeffrey Simmons, obvious choice. Cam Ward, obvious choice. From there, Jim DK, he's an all-pro. Good player, second year. If that's the third best guy on your team, though, return man, receiver with a lot to prove still. Fourth, Cedric Gray. A good player, promising future. Fourth best guy on your team. Fifth, Gunnar Helm. 3, 4, and 5 there. 4 and 5 there. 5 there. That is illustrative of the Titans' talent there. You go back to the last uniform reveal, I don't think anybody's asking questions about the guys that were in uniform. I don't remember who they were, but I wasn't saying like, ooh, that was not the best talent in those new uniforms. Austin, I'd be happy to have a beer with you next time I'm in Florida. Reach out. The uniform revamp is not going to get the Titans primetime games. The expected competitive level of the Titans is what gets the Titans free games. One or two posters would be fine, but beyond that would be fanish. Well, you're only going to see 2 or maybe 3 in the background. Rivalry edition uniforms come out closer to the season. Maybe late summer. If the Titans hit on these young free agents getting their second contract, how much does the offset their miserable drafts? Well, that's what they're trying to do. We'll see. I have no idea what alumni are signing, and I think they keep it signing. No savings on Barton this year. The out is next year in year 3, so there's no reason to sign him. Could Latham ever be a guard and pay a right tackle? He could be. He's not going to be this year. Oh, least favorite Titan. Yeah, I didn't mention Pac-Man Jones. Him threatening to kill me did put him there. He's there with Darren Bates. There's no reason to hate Darren Bates. You guys should hate Panda. You guys should hate Panda because he didn't produce. I talked to Panda like 2 or 3 times. He's a incredible bust. The guys I dislike because they were difficult to deal with. Panda wasn't difficult to deal with. Didn't deal with it. All right, we're wrapping up here. Let me scroll to the newest comments and see here. If I was running the draft, who would I take? If I was running the draft, I'd work hard to trade out, and I would hope that Reese or Bailey was there. Mariota, Lewan, Delaney, Walker were they the only three that were in uniform last time? Dan Moore at $26 million can't get into a uniform for a reveal. He certainly could get into a uniform for a reveal. It's a matter of who they invite. You think they want Dan Moore to be a representative that you look back on and see pictures of? Guy who's gone after next year? I mean, at least Cedric Gray and DK and Helm going to be around for a while. Hey, this has been terrific. You guys have been terrific. I've really had a good time. This is one of the better chats we've had in a long time. I appreciate the good audience. Come eat at Edley's or use the app to order to be delivered at home. Support independent journalism on the Titans. Join paulkuharsky.com. Get texts about these podcasts and read some great insight and analysis from me and several other very good people. Check me out too on Instagram, where I post reels that give you little snippets like you get an hour worth of here. Have a great weekend. Don't block the box. Be sure, please, to lock your locks.